Hey, welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. A great day for you today as we have Martin Darcy from the Director of Transportation and the Training at Houston Community College. We're going to bring him on about 7:08. Before we dive into Martin and into that drive safe, let's just hop into it. Yesterday we had the presidential address, State of the Union. Talk to us a little bit about that.
You know, he was definitely going to be making some of the points that he'd been talking about all week, and that included the inflation, that included Ukraine, and that included points on the economy. But I will tell you that something happened yesterday in the State of the Union that I hadn't seen in a long time, and that was a lot of.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's just I did it all day yesterday with everybody else. We stand up and cheered. Sorry about that. Keep going.
But you know what was really interesting is that there was a lot of bipartisan support in the talk about Ukraine.
Well, Ukraine for certain, but that's when it ended.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and then after that point, you're still my enemy.
Yes, sir, for sure.
So yeah, we saw a lot of that yesterday, but you know, I'll tell you, he hit a lot of the, and I'm just going to go out of my opinion, he hit a lot of the middle of the road, right? Not so far left, not so far right. He really played upon what I would consider the moderates in the field. I mean, just listen to the way he talked and what he mentioned and stuff like that. But there you go. I just wanted you to hear what my opinion was on the talk.
Okay, so not much there to offer. Thank you, Drive Safe Dave. Sounds like you fell asleep, much like I did in it. It wasn't... Just kind of, it was, you know what's amazing to me?
It was
and I will tell you this now. What's absolutely amazing is how every president, when they do this, the economy is kicking good. It's a record job growth. Everything's good. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Jobs. Yes, that's all they say.
Can somebody just say the truth, what's really going on regarding inflation? I will say this is, you know, he made mention, and it came out, I think, yesterday morning anyway, that we, you know, the United States is going to participate, but we, outside of Russia, are going to release 60 million barrels
of oil to the economy to help slow the price.
And the U.S. is going to be 30 million of that. And Dave, all I got to say is that it wasn't just back in November we released 50.
And it did
right?
nothing.
50 million. Did nothing. Prices continue to go up.
Correct.
You see 60 and you hear 60, and you get a lot of applause on that. But we did 50 in November, and it did nothing. Dave, what we're trying to do is because we haven't cut off Russia yet,
nope.
Right? We haven't cut that off. Russia, the third leading producer of that crude oil, right, in the world.
That's correct.
You know, number 3, and it's we're not ready to do that. We're ready to try to release it. I think to do one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's to try to keep that pricing in reach, right? I think that's really what it is.
You know, it's funny. We don't want your vodka, but we'll take your oil. It becomes it just becomes almost crazy how we think of it. If we're going to create all these sanctions against them, but as long as we don't touch the oil pocketbook, we'll leave everything alone. The banks are still allowed to transact if it is a petroleum based funding or based purchase. But other than that, they're not allowed to do any purchasing.
Yeah, I'll put that right back in there again. So 60 million again. It sounds like a heck of a whole lot, but Russia produces 5 million barrels a day. It's not even it's a week and a half. You know, it's 2 weeks of production out of oil is all we're doing. Yeah, we just dumped in.
And you won't see the price go down at the pump, I guarantee.
Oh, for certain not. No, you won't see it. I think that will stay stable. Hey, Dave, I do have a question for you. When we talk about reserves, what does that mean? They're just hanging out somewhere. They're underground, just sitting there just in case.
They're in storage facilities. It's based upon a lot of reasons. We learned over several years of conflicts, and for reasons like this, disasters or what have you, that it's important to have oil reserves, much like you would have, you know, reserves for at your house, you know, a savings account. You have the same thing with the oil. So it's in the United States. We have large amounts of reserves to hold up.
Gotcha. Also, within the same kind of news, we'll just stick to this, is that Russia's no longer to fly in the United States airspace as well. A lot of countries, had already put that in, and then we saw that from the United States being announced yesterday. Dave, one other thing we did notice is that there were very few masks during the speech yesterday.
Yep, there was very few masks, and I think he even spoke to that in the address when he was talking about how we are wanting to get back to a more normalcy in the nation. And
but 2 weeks ago, you had to wear them. Now now we're not wearing them. I just say follow the science. Everybody has always said, I wonder what that science says. I know that what side you're on when it comes to that. You're way left on that. But where does the science really take you? I think the CDC is going to have a lot of, Lucy, they've got a lot of explaining to do. I promise you on that. There's going to be a lot of explaining. Hey, used truck prices.
Wow.
They continue to skyrocket. Listen to this, Dave. Last month, the pricing came out, or in February, 83% used truck.
That's crazy.
Higher prices on the used truck than last January.
That's crazy.
So, think about that, Dave. That $50,000 truck is now costing you $90,000.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's insane on the market we see, and we continue to make sure that we spread that word to you on this, because understand that right now when you buy, you're going to buy on the highest end ever. And perhaps it goes a little higher next week or next month, but just know that you're on the very high side, and what's not guaranteed to be on the high side are those spot market rates in which you will try to survive on. You're kind of betting on that side to stay, and we don't know if that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, Dave, I almost feel like you think this used truck pricing market continues to go up, right? Well, there's a good chance that there's just less used vehicles entering into the market because the bigger trucking companies replaced a lot of those last year, the year before, this year. They've replaced those, and now all of a sudden they may decide to start seeding those trucks, right? The new trucks that come in, not releasing those other trucks back out to the market. Therefore, there's less trucks out there in the market. Pricing going to go up, but what else what will happen if these big trucking companies keep these trucks, don't release them? All of a sudden, that spot market freight will go down. So your truck prices can continue to go up. It's like the old Bible song: the prices go up and the thing goes down. You've got to really, really watch it if you're looking at starting that company. If you're looking at being an independent contractor, growing your company.
Right.
Hey, be careful right now. The one thing we haven't seen are the release or the addition of any trailer. Still, though, that market, although the pricing is significantly higher, you just can't get a trailer.
Nope.
You talk about trucks and the used market going up on that. Well, the same thing's happening on the trailers, except you can't get one. So what companies are doing and are finding ways to get that trailer and just get it repaired, right? Fix it. It can be 10 years old, fix it, because you can't get another trailer to replace it.
Yeah, and refurbishing it will cost you way less than actually going out and buying a new trailer.
When a new trailer is costing you $46,000, let me tell you something, it does make you look at what you do to your used trailer, right?
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, you do have more money to invest into that. So just look at some of these trends that are going on. Hey, listen, we're going to be right back. We got Martin coming to join us. Martin, you ever watch Martin?
Yes, I have watched.
Big fan of Martin. Coming and joining us next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Welcome back to BCB Live. Yes, you know it. It is the safest station in the nation. Joining us today is Martin Garcy, the Director of Transportation Training at Houston Community College. Hey, Martin, top of the morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Thank you.
Man, we are so excited to have you here, and there are a lot of subjects that we're ready to talk about. Let me tell you, I'm excited to have you here. Martin, I see here you're on the board of directors of the Texas Trucking Association. Are you going to be in Waco on the 24th of March?
I will not. I have a conflict there. I apologize.
You're good. I'm going to be there for sitting on the board with Adam Blanchard and Sean Leon. Sitting on a panel there to talk to be part of the TXTA, and Waco's hoping to get a chance to see you and formally meet you. But we're excited to have you here. Martin, tell us a little bit about the community, the college there in Houston. What is it at the end of the day that you're focused on doing?
Well, Houston Community College started the truck driving program in 1995. And so it started small, like most things, and it's grown to, we train about 1,000 students a year. We do a lot of training for specific companies, but we also do what's open enrollment. So a person calls, they want to learn to drive a truck, and they enroll in our program. So that's, that's kind of the humble beginnings. We're up to about 25 trucks, about 30 trailers, and about 15 full-time instructors and about 15 part-time instructors. So we have quite a large operation.
Hey, Martin, how have you seen, the training going, say, before COVID, during COVID, and in today's market? How are those different stages going with bringing in students for the training?
Well, from a demand standpoint, we've been very fortunate. We've had a pretty constant demand in the city here in Houston. Houston is so large, and we have a lot of, I've been fortunate enough to be very interactive with the industry. So we've been, I would say that we were running, maybe in seventh gear, going along pretty good. COVID hit, and we were shut down for about 3 months. And then when we opened back up, and I think because of the highlight of the supply chain, the highlight of the importance of a truck driver, other people being laid off, we have been just slammed with so many people wanting to get in. In fact, we're limited with a number of trucks we have, number of instructors we have, space, and we're actually full all the way through the summer, going into the summer with our program. So it's been crazy, the interest that's there, and the people wanting to get involved in the trucking industry.
You have as we see that, how has it changed your focus? Has there been a change in focus on how you train drivers that you did over over the years that you've been doing this? Has it changed a lot, or are the fundamentals still the fundamentals?
I would say the fundamentals are still the fundamentals. A couple of weeks ago, we had a huge change from entry-level driver training standards mandated come in on February the 7th. And while that did not change a lot of what I'll call our open enrollment programs, our longer programs, maybe just a little bit more bookkeeping, a little bit more keeping up with the students, logging some things, making sure that we check the boxes, changed our curriculum just a little bit, but not significantly. Now, in our contract classes or our company-specific programs, many times we train specifically to what that trucking company wanted. And sometimes a smaller place like a utility or something like that had the smaller vehicle, we didn't get quite in depth with some of the things that we are currently required to do because of entry-level driving. So a long answer to a short question, we've expanded some programs to meet entry-level driver training and added some things in there to make sure that we're compliant in that. But I would say that the basics are still the same. Safety first, safety always, and learning to operate that truck.
Hey, when we talk about the training class, I believe it's a 6-week course, and the question we have on that is, what makes an employee, a driver, like starting with you, they're not employable, then 6 weeks later they are. What are you doing to ensure that they have the basics, right? Or what happens when they get out of your class? Do they still have more training to do?
Well, we always say we hope they go to work for a company that has a very robust continued training program. The job on the job training, so to speak. And most of your large over the road companies that hire a lot of the students, they continue to train them for anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 weeks, so that they make sure that they have all the basics they need in order to be able to be that safe driver. We get them the basics. We teach. There's a whole lot of information that we put in those students in that 6 week period. We typically, our classes run, it's about 2 weeks in the classroom, and that's the theory. Of course, we go outside with the pre-trip and that type thing. Then we have 2 weeks on the range and 2 weeks on the road. And then, of course, at the end of that, successful completion is a person testing for their CDL, obtaining their CDL, and meeting those standards that is required for entry-level driver training. So we think of it as an entry-level driver trainer. By no means are they the professional driver yet. People come to us with all types of learning, some faster than others. Some obviously come out, maybe a little bit more better at shifting and that type of thing. But, it's those basic things that we impart into them and get them there to the CDL. And like I said, I can't say enough. We want them to continue to be trained with the company they work with, because they're not there yet.
What would you say the biggest surprise of a student when they come in? They have a preconceived idea when they walk in the door. What is it that when you sit them down, you start talking to them in the classroom? What are some of the biggest shocks that these people have when they first start driving a truck?
Well, I think when they come in and start talking to you, the amount of information that they're going to have to learn, obtain, and to retain, there's a lot more to it. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, I can drive my car and I can drive my pickup, and I add a few feet to it, and I can do that. So as you know, there's so much more to driving an 18-wheeler and doing it safely. So I think the amount of information that they have to, first of all, they have to obtain a permit, so they have to take a written test down. And in Texas, it's the DMV or the DPS office. Some places DMV, but you get that permit. And the typical student for us is not the student out of high school or out of college where they're used to studying. So you have that learning, or that maybe that learning curve, or them getting back in the mode of going to school, learning, studying, reading, retaining information. So it's a little bit of a shock, and then you use the word test. I'm going to test you over this. Sometimes it's been quite a long since some of us has taken a test, right? So that's some of the hurdles that you go through, and then just the process. And there's a lot of information that, like I said, that we expect that person to learn. And so sometimes that comes as a shock. And then I'll also use one of my favorite words is when they get out in the industry and they realize that it is hard work. Sometimes that's a shock.
Yeah, right. And I do think that, Dave, people think that all the time that all you do is drive. There's so much more than just driving on that. But you did bring this up, Martin. I want to touch base on this. The 18-year-old, what are your thoughts on the 18-year-old versus the 23-year-old? Do you feel the 18-year-old can get into these trucks today and drive them safely and responsible?
I think there is some that can. The right student with the right training, going to work for the right company, I believe can be successful. Not very many 18-year-olds are going into the industry now. And in a state like Texas, you can drive from Orange to El Paso, which is almost 900 miles, and be 18 years old. You can't go from Orange, Texas to Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is only about 30 miles. That part of it doesn't make sense, crossing state lines, and we know that's a FMCSA issue. But I think that we need to look at getting that younger person engaged. I think sometimes we lose that student. They leave high school, they go into construction, they go into whatever that is, and they become used to that. They progress if they're a good worker. Maybe there's some type of, they've got some raises along the way. And so now they're kind of hooked into the industry in which they go into. And then 5 years, 6 years, 7 years later, we say, hey, come drive a truck, leave home for 3 weeks, and, give up your job that you have. So I think that there's some things that we need to do there. Not everybody, not 18-year-old, and I'll even go so far as to say not all 50-year-olds need to be driving trucks.
For sure. No, for sure. Yes, we know some 50-year-olds that don't need to be driving as well. Hey, Mark, I do have a question for you. Kind of in the same scheme of things right there. So, when it comes to the drivers that are in your class, what we do here at BCB, we talk about safety. There's nothing more dear to our heart than our drivers, making safe decisions out there, understanding when they're following too close. Also understanding to expect the unexpected from the four-wheelers. It's not always that truck driver's fault. But what are you doing in your class, or what happens in the classroom to make sure that these folks know that their job at the end of the day isn't to deliver freight on time? It's about value in life, about making the safe decision while driving that truck. What do you do at your class to try to instill that early in their career? Because we're kind of attacking it on the other end, right? For companies or drivers that may not have heard that before, that's how we do it.
Absolutely, and we start with day one with talking about safety, and we're all about safety, and it's just the little things like how do you first of all, how do you get in and out of the truck? Most people would say, hey, I can get in that truck, right? But there's a safe way to do it, 3-point stance. Starting with the very basics like that, and drilling that into them every day. I'll give you another example. We don't allow students to make U-turns in U-turn bays because there's just a lot of times people get too far into that, can't see well, and so it's not a safe situation. So we tell them, hey, and I love what you just said. It's not about delivering the freight on time necessarily. It's about getting there safely and getting home safely. So plan your day, plan your route, and take the safe route. Don't take the short route. Don't take the shortcut. Be safe in everything. And so we drill that in constantly. There's never a time, and just for example, like getting, like backing. Nobody wants to get out and look, right? Because they don't want to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. But don't make that mistake of having that incident. So get out and look.
Every time.
So we have the student get out and look a lot. Hey, look at the position where you're at. Look at what you're doing wrong. Even if you think you know what you're doing, get out and look. Because writing that report of why you had that incident, or having to take a picture of the trailer that you damaged, is not what you want. That's not what you want in your career. And as you well know, a person with a good safety record will have a job forever.
For sure.
A good driving job forever. And so you want to protect that, just like almost like and it is your life. You protect it like it's your life. You protect your safety record. So we drill that from day one on every aspect of what we teach. On the range, no cell phone because you might be distracted. Obviously, no cell phone in the truck. But just walking across the lot there, how we have the students pay attention. People leave the Walmart and wander through their parking lot on their cell phone and may or may not get run over, right? But we don't allow that out here on the range because we know that that's not safe, and so we're instilling safety from every aspect on day one.
Yeah, Martin, you bring up some great points. I want to touch base on a couple of them. Get out and look. It's near and dear to our heart. And what we've seen in the industry, whether it's in-house or outside the house, is that when you back into something, on a typical report, we'll see it written up that, it was too tight. And the question is, well, if you got out and looked, if it was too tight, why would you attempt it? Because it means you can't fit. So why would you even try that? So we want to make sure that you hear it from us, too, to encourage your students that, listen, when you get out and look, when you see something is too tight or too dangerous, then you don't do it. It's not worth the downtime. It's not worth the risk. And Martin, I want to make sure that your drivers, that your students also hear from us, and we've been preaching about it. One of the great things about COVID is that it did allow this industry to place value on the driver's safety record. No longer is a driver, or should a driver be valued on the number of miles they can run. Rather, they get valued now on how safe they are. So I wanted to make sure to reiterate that to you, that continue to preach that, because that's truly what matters in our industry today.
Absolutely. It's some of the worst things, the worst times of, and I'm sure in your career, unfortunately, we've heard some feedback where people are injured in an accident or whatever, and that just, there's virtually hardly ever an excuse for an accident. It's or the incident that occurs. There's plenty of things to do to prepare for that, and we try to give them every opportunity. We even, we use simulators where with a lot of our students, and we're able to throw in some curveballs, so to speak, to show reaction and that type of thing. So in many cases, we're even able to take it a little bit more extreme than we would actually in the truck, and to show them what happens.
How do you select? And I know you said you had 15 instructors and you had 15 alternate instructors. What kind of experience do they bring to the table, and where did you get? I mean, how did you gather them? And really, I would like to know, how are their teaching methods? Do they differ greatly, or do y'all stick to a genuine straight path?
We use a curriculum, that everyone should follow. I know that. Let me go back to your first question. Where do they come from? The state of Texas, we're a state institution, so they require a minimum of 3 years in what you're teaching, and the license to operate, obviously, what you're operating. So there's some basic things there, high school diploma, and there's some other things. But our average instructor has about 20 years experience of driving. So typically, we have that person that has driven for a while, and then for one way or another, they found out about us, come to us, and so we have some drivers, or some instructors, I'm sorry, that started in 96 and 97 when the program started in 95. So they have many years of instruction. And so they have tailored their training because you have all different types of people come in that learn in different ways, kind of the examples they use, or, the tried and true methods, and then they've seen what works best for them. So it's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously, we hire a person only with a good safety record. We do the MVRs, all the things that you do for a driver. But it's very. I would say we have some of the best drivers out there that come in and become instructors, and I'm partial to our people because I've seen them teach so many different people, so many different styles, so many. And this is a little bit controversial in the industry, but there's a deaf waiver out there now for deaf students, and we actually have one in our class now. And so to see my guys just really rally around this young man that's wanting to be a truck driver, and we've had several, and they become successful. So taking that extra effort, and that to me, it just shows the quality of people that we have and the dedication that they have to make sure that student is prepared in every way.
Hey, Martin, when it comes to a brand new student just straight off the road, what kind of cost should the student expect to incur to get the training required to get that certificate from the school there?
You said cost?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our course is about $4,000 for our 6-week course. We do evening, weekends, that type of thing. Being a state school, we're probably a little bit cheaper than some of the private schools because we are state subsidized. But I think you'll see the average price somewhere between $4,000 to $5,000 around the country. Our price is actually $39.50.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we had a question I wanted to ask you before I asked you the follow-up question. And the question was, these larger schools, that these private schools, or the schools that are even put on by some of the larger trucking companies. The question was kind of, I guess, generated to your thoughts on this. Man, to go out and learn the basics at some of these companies, the person asked the question specifically had paid somewhere between that, say, $10,000 and $15,000 mark, and then was forced to stay on to that carrier, making a lot less money than they felt like they were deserved. What are your thoughts on the training at the big companies, say, versus your place at the community college?
Well, I'm prejudiced. I think we do the best job. I said that earlier, and I'll keep repeating that. But we've done some carrier training in the past, and we actually do some currently. The way I look at that may be a little bit different than others. I think that a person has to do research on their own and figure out what fits them. For us, a person has to come with money or with the grant, that type thing. With some of your carriers, I know that, there's no cost up front. So depending on a person's circumstance, that is a way to get into the industry. And over the period of a lifetime, what does that cost actually, turn out to be? So I don't keep up with a lot of that as far as, what they pay and that type thing. I tend to stay away from that and just ask the person, say, do your research and see what you're comfortable doing. And if that's the only way you can get into the industry, we've had people go to work for a company and other people, we do some company training and they stay for years, a short period of time. So I think it's I think sometimes people don't even know the right questions to ask, but yet sometimes they ask no questions to even get that process started. So it's a jerk reaction. They jump into something quickly. It's like, buying the wrong car. It's still a car and it works, but
Done that before.
It won't fit in your garage or whatever that scenario is. So I would encourage people to do some research because there's a lot of good programs out there. There's a lot of help. If a person's a veteran, there's just a lot of grants. There's different things, different schools, and they fit different needs. So do your research.
There's no doubt. And Martin, I think first of all, I want to thank you for being on BCB Live. The answers you gave us, there's no doubt you've been in this industry for, as you have here, over 30 years of experience. It shows. I love your answers. I love your enthusiasm. I love the knowledge and that want to educate these folks and teach these folks and do it really for, around the safety aspect, because man, we've got to continue to change our industry, and that starts, Dave, with what we believe on the safety side. We've got to continue to work on the new entrants, the drivers that have been in this industry for a long time, to change the mindset on what it means to be a truck driver and the safety behind it. Martin, I want to thank you again for being part of the show. I do want you to do this. We do with all our guests is we want you to say your name, the Director of Transportation Training at Houston Community College, and you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Okay, Martin Garcia, Director of Houston Community College. You're watching BCB Live, safest station in the nation.
All right.
Bam. Hey, Martin, thanks you
Martin.
so much for being on the show. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Anytime. Look forward to meeting you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Phenomenal interview once again. And you know what, Dave? It makes me feel good knowing we have folks like that training these new entrants into this industry, because they've got to have they got to have that start. And then to Martin's point, you know what? It doesn't end with him. The trucking company's taking these students on. You've got to continue to do some further education, further training on driving conditions, right? And and to your point, to see the two seasons. We've got to continue to do our part to make this industry safer. We need more people in it. We're drivers short. We got to continue to improve our behaviors as companies, as shippers, receivers, to bring these folks in.
Yeah, it's important, and I like the passion. And he talked about his instructors, how they obviously they care about what they do, and they care about the drivers that come in. And great story, great opportunity for everybody to understand that there is people out there, or there are people out there doing what they need to do to make it a better industry today.
We're 3 minutes over. Drive safe, Dave. Make it quick. Give us that phrase that pays.
Traffic or weather can be a mess. Slowing down will lower your stress.
All right. We'll see you in 30 seconds here on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right. I like how you do that.
Now, you know what? I'm a little slow. Some.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hump Day, right? It's Buckle Up Bob. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. We're going to get you kicked off with a little bit of traffic. And the DFW area has a bunch going on this morning. I did hear of many major wrecks, so not real sure unless they've happened recently. But again, we've got slowdowns on 20. You can see it stretching all the way from the 820 loop in Fort Worth to 635 or in the 20 around DFW. You've got spots everywhere. And the loop itself has little spot areas, stop and go traffic all the way around the loop. 30 inside the loop is bad. 30 stretching connecting Fort Worth to Dallas is bad. All the way from 820 loop to past the 360 merge point, north and south. Of course, 35W, we always have the problem, northbound lane coming up from Burleson into the 820 loop at Fort Worth. And north of 820 also, a lot of construction going on there. Same thing here in Saginaw. You're approaching the construction right here at this merge by Meacham Airport. So you're backed up all the way to there, and on the eastern side of 35W all the way out to North Richland Hills and Bedford. So again, gonna need a lot of patience if you're in that Dallas-Fort Worth area this morning. Pack it, keep that spacing, and slow your speed. As we get to Houston, 45 looks good. And actually, all the arteries coming in look real good, except coming in from the west on 10 and the tollway as you approach the loop in Houston. But the outer loop looks great. Really, for the most part, just a couple areas of stop and go traffic. So Houston, you've got a pretty good, it looks like just a normal commute rush hour. So do yourself a favor, increase that space, slow the speed down, and you'll have a pretty safe commute this morning in the Houston area. Kansas City has a little bit of problems this morning, nothing major, but you can see 70 here. Once you get inside 470 loop, just between Independence and Raytown area, you've got a little bit of a backup that is on the westbound side. And then down here at Lee Summit on 50 and 350, as you approach 470, you've got a backup as well. So again, Kansas City, a little bit of a commute this morning, some issues, but nothing major. So again, good job in the Kansas City area this morning. Chicago's looked good all week pretty much, and it looks good this morning. The 80-94 as you cross the state line, Indiana and Illinois state line, looks good. A little bit of a slowdown on 80 here near Rockdale, south of Joliet. And then by Bolingbrook, 55 on the northbound side, a little bit of a backup, nothing major. Looks like about a 5 to 10 minute issue there. The loop looks great, 90, 88, all feeding into the city look good. 94 coming from the north looks good. So Chicago, you have a pretty nice commute going on this morning. As we look at Atlanta, let's see, did we ever get a break in Atlanta? Very something, no. Again, 20 is backed up all the way to Douglasville. This is on the eastbound direction. So again, you are backed up all the way to Douglasville and this 92-70 merge, it looks like. So watch out for there. Slow down, be patient. The north side of the loop, all the way from 20 to 20, has some issues. Of course, 85, always a problem. And is still past Pleasant Hill, back past 316. And same thing on 20. This is on the westbound side from Lithonia all the way to the 285 loop. So you've got a major headache again in the Atlanta. If you can, if you're on 20, go the southern route on the loop. That is your best bet. Again, and you must use the loop if you're not delivering inside it per Georgia state law. As we look in our Nashville area, wow, Nashville has been pretty bad for the last couple of days. I don't know if they've got some construction going on. We'll have to kind of maybe look at that for you all, but you can see 24 is backed up here below 266. That is the northbound direction, but even here from Bakerstown to south of Antioch to 254, you have it on both sides of the highway. So major backup there. We have a problem on 65 northbound by Brentwood as you come up to Phillips, heading north into Nashville. 40 westbound, a problem all the way back out past Monticello, and that is stop and go all the way into the loops and the inner city. You've got 40 on the eastbound side here from Pegram, Newsom. Right, you get a little bit of break, and then it picks up again a major headache all the way to Charlotte Park. So, and then our normal, typical merge points, 2440, 2465. You've got issues there as well as typical. Hey, Nashville, folks, you're going to sit in traffic. So if you've got the drivers out there, if you've got the ability to take a 2-hour break, take it. Remember, pause that 14-hour rule so you don't lose any of your drive time sitting in this traffic. Plus, you're going to be safer. You don't have to worry about the crazies jumping 3 lanes, missing their exits in these traffic. It's a nightmare in Nashville this morning, so be patient. Use all the tools that are given to you to be able to navigate that safely this morning. Look in the Baltimore area. The loop looks horrible. Again, Parkville all the way around down to Catonsville, past 70, 795 merge points, right? And then even on the southern side here at Baltimore, 95, Arbutus, right, all the way to Dundalk. You've got some issues there. So the loop around Baltimore has some headaches this morning. The connecting routes, 295 looks pretty good until you get to South Laurel. 95 looks good both directions. DC area, we do have a lot of issues on the loop, just in spots, right? Oxon Hill. And then again, it picks up all the way from Forestville all the way around to 270 merge point at Cabin John. And then we've got a problem again at 66 on the eastbound side, coming in from Manassas National Battlefield Park, Centerville, Fair Oaks into Idlewood. And then, of course, we usually have some issue down here by Annandale, Laconia, 395. As you get to Springfield, you've got some problems there as well. So DC also got a pretty good headache this morning on your commute, as well as the Baltimore area. We look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia, again, kind of almost carbon copy of yesterday, maybe a little more red, it looks like. We've got the same problem over here on the Jersey side at Belmar, 95 along the river. The Turnpike 76 is backed up today past King of Prussia. Yesterday it was Conshohocken. 476, the typical from Marple Township down to Chester, and the 95 merge point. So Philadelphia, a lot of traffic going on this morning. Going to take a lot of patience if you're in that Philadelphia area. Let's look at our Indianapolis area. And again, you can see the loop on the eastern side has some issues. All the way up here on I think that's 69. Yeah, from 69 merge point past it, down south around all the way down here to 37 on the south side. Typical backup as you approach the city. This is the westbound direction. That is always gets a little backed up there, and then it kind of cleans out pretty nice for you as you drop down here below the city. And then again up by Zionsville, you also have some problems. So Indianapolis, not as clean as it usually is. So again, we got some issues going on there as well as you come through the Indianapolis area. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. I'm sorry. I forgot weather. How did I forget weather? Goodness gracious. So much traffic this morning, I almost forgot it, folks. But again, that's probably because I've looked ahead and it's really looking good. Our temperatures are going to be good. I don't believe any winds. The winds, look at that. Not hardly anything to speak of for today. And as we go into tomorrow, again, a little bit more wind, but nothing major. You're seeing them 20-mile-an-hour gusts is the big thing that you're going to see there. The temperatures are nice. As we look into the rain and thunder, you can see a little bit of snow up in the Dakotas and southern Minnesota into Iowa, up along the Canadian border, a little system, but nothing much going on. That's in Thursday. And then if we look for today, you can see just like we said yesterday, nothing has changed. It's up along that Canadian border. So again, the rest of the country, y'all have a great next 48 hours with the wind and the rain not being almost non-existent. Now we'll take a quick break and be right back with some safety.
Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Buckle up, Bob, and drive safe. Don't know if you saw it or not, but part of safety are fires. And we saw the fire and reported it last week on that Felicity Ace, a ship out in the ocean, wherever that was.
Off
not
the
here.
Azores.
Let me tell you something. Over 4,000 high-end vehicles on there. They're saying they're Bentleys. They're gone. The ship sunk yesterday.
Oh man!
Well, I'm pretty sure those after the fire they were scrapped anyway, so they just got a burial at sea pretty much. I wonder if they just scuttled the ship.
They said it's like a half a $1 billion worth of car inventory on that. They were all high end, the kind of vehicles you drive, Mr. Dover.
Okay, I wish. I've never driven a Bentley in my life.
No, me neither.
You know what? Yeah, me neither. I'll go ahead and ride with that. Hey, Bob, we're talking this week a little bit about the entrance and the exit ramps. Is that right?
Yes. Today, the too fast for conditions. And, a lot of people don't think about traffic. And we just saw there's a lot of traffic going on today. And so this is really a great timing about the exit and entrance ramps. These are some of the most dangerous places as far as accidents, not necessarily fatalities, but a lot of accidents happen here. And many of the drivers out there, you've all seen it. Four-wheelers coming from 3 and 4 lanes. We've seen trucks do it, right? You got to keep your head on a swivel. You've got to be patient. You've got to have that space and slow speed so you can react to all these things. One of the things is you got to slow down, just like you do lights. You have to expect something is going to happen here at these things. And it's usually attributed to a driver entering an exit ramp and misjudging the angle of the curve, the sharpness of the curve, right? Or, as we said, them drivers making multiple lane changes to catch that exit versus going down and turning around. And then one of the things, you may or may not know out there is 20 to 30% of the accidents happen at these merge point areas. Even though they only make up 5% of the highway miles out there, they are a dangerous spot for accidents.
And I think too, when we're talking about this, it's the situational awareness that has to also come into play. Meaning, when you're in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, the odds are when you're entering off a ramp onto the highway, you may have a little bit more room than you do in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Massachusetts, those states in which there's just no room, right? And you've got to be ready for that, whether you're in the right lane or you're coming on that exit.
And we talk about it. I'll tell you, it's really important that as the drivers out there making a difference, you've got to really give that person coming in the space they need and let them know that they can come on in, back off, give them the space, because you're going to get that hesitation moment, and then everybody's going to start second guess. Well, do I slow down? Do I speed up? Do I slow down? Do I speed up? Do I slow down? And then all of a sudden everybody's stopping on the freeway, which you definitely don't want to happen. So do yourself a favor and give them the space they need.
I feel like we need signs on the front bumpers of vehicles. Say, hey, go ahead. I'll give it to
backwards
you.
So they can read them in the mirror.
Either way, whatever it is, we've got to figure that way, because there is a massive communication gap when it comes to these ramps, right?
Yeah.
We're just guessing on what the other one's thinking.
And a lot of the four-wheelers don't really know the rule. We have fielded many calls, and I'm sure carriers out there, you have too, where the person coming on say, hey, your driver didn't let me merge in. Well, they think they've got the right of way, and they don't. But folks, one of the things we do talk a lot about here, the best way to avoid an accident is always yield it, never take it. So if you've got that mindset, you're going to let them in.
Yes, sir. Let's shoot some videos. What do we got?
Oh, we've got a little bit of everything, some good and some bad. Here we've got some pretty good space, right? And then we go into a tailgate situation and a quick lane. Remember, folks, again, nothing happened here, and you can see the mirror, but you just got to get in that. We talk about the habits. It takes 28 days, I believe, to break some bad habits. So you've got to start practicing and realize, hey, it's okay to make the lane changes. That's not what the videos are showing, but you got to do them safely. And when you go into a tailgate, that forces you into a quick lane change. That lane change, 2 lane changes were made in about 2 seconds to 3, and you need to take that for each one.
And some reasons you want to do that. What you don't see at this point is that there is a disabled tractor trailer up ahead on the right-hand side. And when you're moving from traffic lane to lane to lane, you know what? You don't know what's going on. You haven't owned your lane. And if all of a sudden cars and trucks start swerving out of the way, it's going to cause a backup in which, you don't know what this trailer full of hay is going to do. So you want to make sure that you own that lane even before you start switching again. And we talked about that yesterday, right?
Yes, and you're going to see a video a little bit later why this is so important. And again, here, right, you come up on a tailgate, instead of getting out of the gas and keeping that space, the lane change was safe, but it puts you in another bad situation. So, again, a lot of times it's not the act of the lane changing, it's the situational awareness that we talk about. Hey, you got to back the speed off and remember, the space around you is not just in front. You are managing on all sides, bottom and top as well. So just stay out of this situation. Be patient. You're going to do it anyway and not lose the time you think. Here, this is what I was kind of talking about. Look, you've got a truck tailgating. One of the things, again, we talk about managing the space, right? It's not just what's in front of you. You maybe want to get out of this because that truck is going to force some inexperienced driver, some elderly person to panic possibly here. And you've got to know that, right? This is unsafe and we've got to report these drivers, right? There's no reason for it. Zero reason for it. So maybe just get out of there and give yourself some room. Man, watch this. We talk about the quick lane changes, right, and tailgating. This is what can happen out there that you just aren't planning for. I don't know how they didn't have an accident there. A great job by this driver. The speed was down, the spacing, keeping the spacing. I mean, that looks close. And again, this driver here would have been able to probably avoid any kind of collision because of the speed and space they were managing. Great job by this driver.
I'll tell you that there's definitely brakes on that trailer, or that truck would have been pushed. There's definitely good brakes on that trailer because that truck braked evenly all the way across. So good stuff, man.
Yeah, we've seen where that hasn't been the case, right?
Absolutely,
where that trailer starts to push.
Yeah, that trailer starts
vehicle
to push the truck, and then everybody's in trouble at that point.
And then the last one again, man, I tell you what. I really wish there was a camera angle from the side because it looks like the construction crew really didn't give much room for a tractor trailer to come through here. It looks like they're hugging that Jersey barrier, but great job slowing down in construction zones so that you give these guys a break, right? They're out there doing a job. And again, here, really, really tight, even trying to squeeze through.
Yeah, not a lot of room in that whole lane. No. I mean, no matter what. So phenomenal job driving. That at this point we are. When you look at this, we're pushed over to the left. I mean, we are in that. It's not even a lane. It's the bear. I mean, you're on the
shoulder.
Yeah, you're on the shoulder, and you're pushing you over as far as you can go. I can tell you this: you go. Before and after, I'm going to tell you that barrier wall. It's got a little that Jersey. It's got
rub, tire rub.
Before and after, I guarantee you, it looks a little bit different today than it did the day before.
Got a little tire rub.
Guarantee it. I've been there, and it is scary when you just feel like you got no room going on either side of that. So, hopefully, some drivers out there have some comments about because you can see. Folks, the tailgating and the speed management has to be part of your daily practice. I can't stress that enough. You see, every video that's shown, every way to do things by the safety associations out there, the trucking association, it all starts with slowing down, right? Every topic we've done today starts with slowing down, right? You have to manage that speed. You can't do it at what you think is normal. Remember, we always talk about whatever you think a good speed is, it's probably closer to 5 to 10 miles less than that. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means we have a higher opinion of what our capabilities are. We all think we can do more than we can. And you just got to realize that and say, hey, you know what? I think this is a good speed, but I'm going to take it down another 5 or 10. Give yourself those extra seconds.
Yeah, for certain. Hey, today we talked to Martin from the Houston Community College on truck driving. They bring drivers in with zero experience, and in 6 weeks they have them, ready to go. Yes, they got to be trained. What are your thoughts, either both of you, on a driver coming out? And two things. Number one, do you feel they're ready to go? And what were your thoughts on his comments on the 18-year-olds?
I personally do not believe they're ready to go. And then 18-year-olds to there's a lot of young kids that aren't even ready to drive at 18 years old in cars, let alone big rigs. But then again, how do you get the experience, to be able to come on board in this industry? So that's a hard thing to judge. I know some states you can't even get a driver's license as a kid, you know, when you get one at 16, you can't have more than one under 21 age passenger in there to help protect them from being that distracted driving, to get them some of that extra. My dad in the winter took me out on an icy parking lot that was abandoned, you know, a school lot that no school, and we practiced steering into icy, losing control. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where I think parents got to be involved a little bit more, but on the 18-year-old trucking, that's a tough one.
Drive safe.
My opinion, it all comes down to training. We take 18-year-olds every single day and in the militaries, and we train them to do a great job, and they drive tanks, and they drive armored personnel carriers, they drive trucks in the Army. What I'm saying is I do believe, and Martin's a great example of it, it's good training. It's positive, good training. It may need to be more extensive. It may need to be a little bit longer. But it has to be great training, no matter what it is, no matter what age you are. I just believe that Martin and his team are doing a great job in educating and bringing about the right passion, the right ideology to the drivers and to the coming drivers.
Yeah, but I'll challenge you on that. So, aside from the training, Dave, so the difference in the military is that they're not training for 6 weeks and then leaving the military. They are in the military for usually 4 years in a structured environment. That's not the case out of these schools. So the same 18-year-old, he's not working for Martin in that school for the next 4 years. He is going out into an open market in which anybody can do anything with him or her. The continued training's not a guarantee today.
Yeah, I don't think that's a guarantee. I don't care if you're 30 or 18 or 57. If you can show me a guaranteed training program for every age group, I'd be okay with it.
So you are saying that and again, my question is that the 18-year-old with 6 weeks of training in general can be viewed as the same as a 30-year-old, 25-year-old in the maturity level?
Of course not in the maturity level, because maturity depends upon its. But I believe there are a lot of 18-year-olds that are mature.
I get it, and that's the question. But you made the comparison to the military. I don't think it's quite the same thing. I get that the military but they're in the military for a great period of time. These drivers, when they go to training at 18-year-old, and again, you're comparing that to the military. The difference is that they're in a structured environment for the next 4 years. That is just not the case in this, unless they are working for a larger company, right? I'm saying when they go to that class and they go into the open market, unfortunately, we don't know what they're going to be taught there.
Yeah, and I preface my whole statement that it would probably be a longer portion of training in order to make those 18-year-olds.
Who do we have? We have a caller on the line here.
Yeah, we actually have two callers on the line. Mr. David Mason.
Top of the morning, Mr. Mason.
Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Morning, David.
Let's see. I think you need to talk a little bit louder for us.
Yeah, how about this?
All right, we can hear you a little bit. You're good.
Okay, I just wanted to back up Dave there and talk about the military, because I was in the military. And yeah, you might join when you're 17 and it might be structured, but let me tell you something about the military. You go through training, and if you show enough maturity, it's not continued. Like, when you're 19, there's so many people in the military that showed the maturity that are training the 17-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and 20-year-olds. They're doing the training of the 17 and the 18-year-olds because they show the maturity. It's up to the driving schools and the training programs to weed out those that don't have the maturity level. You know, if an 18-year-old goes to the school and they're supposed to be there for 6 weeks, the instructor should be able to tell if this person is going to have the maturity level to be able to make it in the industry.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Dave, but I will challenge you on this, is that after 6 weeks in the trucking industry, different than the military, is that they're not part of that anymore. They are now into the open market, and every trucking company, if I just desire to hire them and I'm an unsafe trucking company, I can do what I want to do. Guess what? I'm going to train that driver how to do it my way. 6 weeks isn't gonna tell that driver how to do the job. It's what happens after that that's important to me, and that's the side that I'm just saying is different than the military, because the military, they are still staying in some kind of structured environment, whether it's a 20-year-old, a 21, or a major chain to them. It's still structured to some point, very structured. they begin their days training for 4 years. I mean, they're training every day. We don't do the same training in our business that they do there.
Yeah.
They train for a living, is what they do. Not so much in the civilian world, whether
Right.
it's trucking or it doesn't matter. The civilian world doesn't do the same thing.
Yeah, and one of the things I really think to help, because we have to do something, and I really think one of the things that I've seen done out there, which I think is great, is, hey, after they come out of the school, they should be in a team environment and then have their mileage limited. You know, to where you've got an instructor where, hey, okay, you start them out maybe 6 hours driving, so they get that feel and they keep the on-the-job training, so to speak, and get up to that 2 years of experience. I think that would be some great training, and you have a mentor there that is a safe driver
I'm
to do that as well.
I'm going to say this, and I'll kind of agree. I'll go with David and David on this one as well, is that it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 50. You know what? There's training that has to happen after 6 weeks.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
Correct.
that's the part that unfortunately doesn't exist today in what we do.
Agreed.
Okay, that's not the same as the military. I agree with the age thing, right? Well, they're
Right.
old enough. I get that. Unfortunately, they're in a civilian market. They can do whatever they want to. It's all based on whoever they are training. I think that there's got to be some good steps in place for them to go to after class, that people are training them the right way, not how to cheat the system.
Yeah, I think there should be, and I don't know if anybody agrees to this, but I think there should be a stair-step method to a driver. I think you should have your first 6 months on your license, and then it should change to your first 2 years, and then after that you become a complete driver. But there should be certain stages to being a driver, because I truly believe somebody is always a rookie until they've seen 2 seasons, and I think the first 8 weeks are the most dangerous out there on the road, because you just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Most accidents, statistics show, happen within the first 2 years of a driver's career, and so that's what, like Sir Rick said, you got to keep that a training going. Just like a lot of companies have internships, right, to keep that training going.
And I think that whether you're 18, 19, 25, or 30, boy, it's that critical. You know, they've done all they can to train you in that 6-week period. Man, my God, you the trucking company, you the truck driver, listen, we've got to do our part to make sure that these folks are really trained, and you just got to be careful where they go to. They can't go to these companies that are getting shut down. You know, and you got these companies. Another one in Kansas got shut down for running unsafe. We've seen them in Texas in the last month. Texas, Kansas companies for just running illegal, running blatant. I mean, we don't want them touching these new drivers.
No.
That's the part. Yeah, they're going to ruin them. We have another caller.
We do. We have actually a lot of callers. I didn't know if you wanted to carry this
Let's
on
keep
later
going.
this
Yeah.
afternoon. Okay. All right. First up, Mr. Stephen Cock.
Good morning. I might be the exception to the rule. 7, 8 years old. I grew up in northern Montana, and we did custom combining. I was out there in a combine at 7, 8 years old. I was pulling a farm truck or hauling a farm truck through the field. I was 12 years old when I hauled my first load of wheat 250 miles from Whitewater, Montana to Billings, Montana. In a GMC General, it had a 4 and a 5 in it, Browning in it.
I'm going to call you the exception. I'm going to say that most 12-year-olds can't do what you did. And again, you grew up out there on the farm. I think that's a different life than what, say what we did here in the city. We weren't doing that. We were playing Atari at that time, right? We're not out there in the fields.
And I bet you were worried about your dad, right? You had a little bit
your
of
own
a
general to watch out for.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
Well, my dad was in front of me, and my older brother was behind me in another truck. I mean, I was playing Atari too. We had that out there in the middle of nowhere.
I hope you weren't doing it while driving.
That's good story.
Good stuff. Hey, thank you very much for that call. Let's give us another one. Who do we have, producer?
All right. Lonnie Payne.
Mr. Lonnie Payne, top of the morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We do, sir.
I just wanted to throw in on that deal. I think one of the differences on the military versus what we do out here is when the military come in, they train very specifically for their MOS. And unless they're in a situation where they have to be cross-trained into something else, which is the case a lot of times, but for the most part, they're just focused on one area. In our arena, you know, to get the necessary experience, there's so much that has to be done and so many different things that you got to focus on. I don't think it's, you know, can be compared up there like a lot of people want to do, you know. That's my thought on it. And then on the following distance, one of those, that following distance video I shot there on the way to Mansfield yesterday, that guy pushing, you know, I was remembered back to when I first started driving, my grandfather told me, you know, actually he reached over and popped me upside the head in that 359 Pete because I was too close to somebody. And he told me, he said, you know, basically you've turned your entire career over to that person in front of you. You're no longer in control. They're in charge. If they slam on the brakes, your career's over. You know, of course, I started trying to make excuses. You know, I was young, and he was like, look, next time we stop, I want you to look out there on that door. That's our name on that door. We're going to do it a certain way. And that's the way it was, you know. And I never forgot that about getting up on somebody. You know, it was like, you're no longer in control. If you're up on somebody, you've got no control over. They're the control vehicle. Whatever they do, you're along for the ride. So that kind of helps. And that's all I had. Y'all have a great day. #family.
Thank you, Lonnie. And I think Lonnie's on to something. You know, we have technology today that continues to tell the driver you are too close. Back off, right? But we don't have technology that slaps you upside the head, right? Maybe you're on to something there, Lonnie. Who else do we have?
All right. I'm going to butcher this name. Lawander?
Is that
Lawander McCune.
There we go.
McCune, yeah.
What's up, Luana? What's up, Lou?
Lou, are you there?
Oh, can you hear me now?
We do hear you.
All righty. Hey, I want to touch on what Dave was saying. There should be like a program that teaches them 3 months before they go to a company. And then on 3 months, they should be like teamed up, like Bob was saying, for like 6 months. Because you don't really get used to a truck to you in your 2-year career, if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
But in filing close, sometimes, you know, my thing it beeps and I try to bag off, but you know, you have some that's on the freeway early in the morning, like when I'm running, and they are super, super slow. I don't really like to change lanes a lot, so I kind of bag off, but this morning I had to change lanes to go around it.
Love it.
Thank you, Lou. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Lou.
And I think what Lou's saying, and I think we're all kind of saying this, is that, you know what? I think there needs to be a lot of focus on standardization within our industry,
Yeah.
right? Within a curriculum. You know, Martin talked about their curriculum. I think we have to have a curriculum after the fact, and it shouldn't. And again, to make sure that we're training them the right way.
Agreed.
You know, putting them in the hands of folks like that have been on the phone with folks like Lou, letting them, you know, train them, you know, the right way before they get in the hands of the wrong people.
Yes.
That's it. You know, so I think we all agree to the same thing. Listen, we want to thank you for being part of BCB Live. Some great conversation today, and there's no wrong answer, and I don't think in anything we discuss. There's exceptions. There's things that I think we want to make sure when these drivers come out that they're going to the right people. We don't want them in the wrong hands per se. So some great conversation. We want to thank Martin for being part of the show today. We want to thank you for participating and watching BCB Live and trying to change your patterns and to making, you know, just looking at yourself and trying to be the absolute best, safest driver, person, human you can be. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this day. We ask just a major blessing upon these drivers that are all over the road today to keep them safe, to get them back home, and to create success within them. Same thing with the behind the scene folks, that you give them that leadership, the ability, the wisdom to make the right decisions. That they're going to you. That they're really putting some thought behind it. Ask you to be with these leaders of the world, and man, what's going on over in Ukraine? Just to be with those folks, with all of them and their families all over the world that they have. Watch over us, guide us, protect us. Help us to do the right thing always. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. Everybody, we're going to see you this afternoon. Stay safe. Make it a great day.